Hello, my lovelies! This is Jenny from Jenny's Fun Facts. We just want to take a moment to thank you so much, P Eats Meal Preps, for sponsoring our episodes. New menu out every Friday, order by Sunday, delivered fresh by Tuesday. And guess what? They deliver to all Montreal surrounding areas as well. Healthy, fresh, and delivered to your door for free. Add them and our podcast on Instagram at p.eats_P as in Peter, R-E, P as in Peter, S. Thanks, P Eats Meal Preps.
I sense something. A presence I have not felt since. Master, your Cpap is ready. Impressive. May the breath be with you. Always.
Welcome to Noon Hour Out of the Box, episode 26. Thank you all so much for your love and support. Robert and I so appreciate it. And to our producer, Jenny DeHame, who makes all this happen. Thank you so much. And to my co-host, my good friend and my mentor, Mr. Robert D'Alessio. How are you?
Esther Brzezinski, my amazing co-host, I'm doing just well. And I'm wondering, I know I got a great night's sleep. How about you? Did you get a good night's sleep?
Well, you know, Robert, I really didn't. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I know that I snore, but I am not officially diagnosed with having sleep apnea. So that's something that I have to do further investigation on. But yeah, I could have slept better. And how about yourself?
Well, like I said, since I have my CPAP machine, because this is nothing I'm going to run away with, from. I have sleep apnea. I've had it for years. And even before I got the machine, I had it without knowing it. And so since the machine came into my life called the Cpap, it has changed everything for me. I'm sleeping better. I'm sleeping less in people's faces because in daytime, I could be having a conversation and I just like crash out because
Unbelievable.
I was sleep deprived.
Yes, I've heard that. I've heard that that's one of the major symptoms. Now, Robert, how did you find out that in fact you have sleep apnea and what drove you to get that investigated?
Well, I remember for the longest of times, for years, I would get up in the middle of the night, shortness of breath, and I couldn't breathe, and I was panicked, and it just kept going on and on and on. And I went to see my doctor maybe 4 or 5 times, and he said, it's nothing, it's anxiety. You probably have a stressful life and all that. Well, wouldn't you know it? He sent me to go get tested at the hospital. I spent the night over there, and I was just blown away. My mind just went, wow. They discovered through the report after spending the night at the hospital, I had over 200 episodes in a 5-hour span.
My goodness.
And what that means is that you start breathing and you stop breathing.
Right.
So no wonder you're tired. Your brain is so busy telling your lungs, your heart, hey, you stop breathing, go back, you got to breathe again. And the longest I went without breathing was 42 seconds. And the doctor goes, no wonder No wonder you're tired. You haven't slept in over 25 years, even though you go to bed. Yeah, even though you go to bed, you think you're sleeping, but you're not, because your brain is busy keeping you up, surviving.
Exactly.
That's what it is. You're in survival mode.
And just imagine holding your breath for 45 seconds. That's not a simple task. So this is what you're doing while you're asleep. And yes, your body's fighting for survival. So of course you're exhausted during the day. Of course you're falling asleep in mid-sentence. And there's a lot of other issues that arise from having sleep apnea as well. So Robert, what is sleep apnea?
Well, let's take a good look at that, and let's share with the audience this wonderful slide presentation that was presented by our good friend Esther. Very talented.
Oh, stop.
So what is sleep apnea? Well, sleep apnea is a potentially serious sleep disorder in which breathing repeatedly starts and stops. If you snore loudly and feel tired even after a full night's sleep, you may have sleep apnea.
So, in fact, there's three main types of sleep apnea. There is the obstructive sleep apnea, which is the first one, and it is the more common form that occurs when throat muscles relax. The second one is called central sleep apnea, and this occurs when your brain doesn't send proper signals to the muscles that control breathing. And the third type is called complex sleep apnea syndrome, also known as treatment emergent central sleep apnea. And this occurs when someone has both obstructive sleep apnea and central sleep apnea.
Well, here are some of the symptoms.
Ooh.
The signs and symptoms of obstructive and central sleep apneas overlap, sometimes making it difficult to determine which type you have. The most common signs and symptoms of obstructive and central sleep apneas include loud snoring, episodes in which you stop breathing during sleep,
like you described?
Yeah, exactly. Which would be reported by another person. So I remember back in the day when I was with a past partner, she would just like sometimes sit up a part of the night just watching me to see if I was breathing okay, because it had become a concern. She actually saw me stop breathing and nudged me. She goes, hey, you stop breathing. You know, she was panicking.
I don't blame her.
So it's also a lot of stress. It's not only the snoring that keeps the other partner up, it's also the concern that you just might stop breathing for about a minute, and that could be fatal.
Yes.
And also the other one is awakening with a dry mouth, morning headache, difficulty staying asleep, excessive daytime sleepiness. I experienced a lot of that. Difficult paying attention while awake, and irritability.
So when is it the right time to go see a doctor? So loud snoring can indicate a potentially serious problem, but not everyone who has sleep apnea snores. That's interesting, actually. So talk to your doctor if you have signs or symptoms of sleep apnea. Ask your doctor about any sleep problem that leaves you fatigued, sleepy, and irritable.
And lastly, a continuous positive airway pressure machine, that's short for Cpap, is the most commonly prescribed device for treating sleep apnea disorders. A Cpap machine sends a steady flow of oxygen into your nose and mouth as you sleep. This keeps your airways open and it helps you breathe normally.
So, Robert, walk us through what you do every night before you go to sleep. What is the process of using the machine?
Well, the process of using the machine, first of all, there is a weekly maintenance. So that's very, very, very important. You gotta wash the mask, you gotta wash the tube, the little tub, you gotta wash. So it's very important that you have a regular sleep routine. It's recommended that if you go to sleep at 11, go to sleep at 11 every night. So you have that routine. And it's also good not to eat before you go to bed.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because that can make your stomach heavy and all that. So you want to have all these favorable conditions. And of course, it's very important that you have a healthy lifestyle. Even though you have a sleep apnea machine, it doesn't mean that all your problems are solved. You also have to watch your weight, because if you put on a bit more pounds, it becomes difficult as well. And your sleep apnea machine is actually going to be going into overtime. So it's very important. So these are some of the things that you have to look at before you go to bed at night.
So I was always curious, is it uncomfortable to sleep with? Because you actually have a full mask. I know there's different types.
Yes, there are different types. I have the full-size mask. It's a preference. There are different ways of getting some air injected into you. You can either go with just the nose tube or just the mouth tube. And for those who have just a nose tube, there's a problem as well that develops. They sleep with their mouth open, and that dries your mouth. So they got this Bugs Bunny thing you put around your head there.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe when you get out of the dentist, you got a tooth pull or something.
We just lost you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Here, I'm back.
Yeah.
So that keeps your mouth shut. No pun intended.
Right.
And that helps you breathe better. So you either have nose, mouth, or the full-size mask. I have the mask. I feel most comfortable with it. And
Okay.
I do recommend a lot of people out there listening, you have group insurance. And
Okay.
group insurance often pays for these machines. Of course, you want to go out and ask your group insurance policy, the holder, whatever. You want to find out if it's covered. If it is, you go out. I recommend to buy the one that is auto on and auto off with the heated tube. It's
Okay.
about $2,000, but well worth the investment. That's if the group insurance covers it. Now, if the group insurance, you don't have any group insurance and you got to spend $2,000 on your own, it is money very well spent. If it means not going to Mexico this year, go next year. Get yourself the Cpap machine and you'll be alive. Who knows? You probably won't be alive. You won't be around if you don't get this machine, because there's been one reported case that a fellow I heard of, he had a Cpap machine. He didn't like wearing the mask. He tried all three devices for breathing, his nose, his mouth, and the mask all alone. He decided he wasn't using it. He went a minute 20 without breathing. Guess what
Oh, my
happens?
goodness.
The bucket kicked him.
Oh, my
So that
goodness.
was it for him. So it's something to be taken very seriously. Sleep apnea can cause death if you stop breathing long enough. And it's not because you stop breathing, Esther, for 15 seconds that it's the same for everybody. You know, everybody has his or her own capacity with his or her body.
That's correct. You know, and the banner here just explains some of the risk factors that a person may have that may lead to sleep apnea, such as obesity and your neck circumference. That's
Exactly.
interesting.
Mhm.
Being male, being older, smoking, of course, which is kind of obvious. Nasal congestion. Now, that's interesting. I have a tendency for sinus infection, so that's always an issue for me. And medical conditions. And this is from the Mayo Clinic.
And there's also the complications that include daytime fatigue, high blood pressure, heart problems, type 2 diabetes, liver problems, and sleep-deprived partners. And that's from Mayo Clinic.
Yeah, but you know, aside from the apparatus that you use, there are other lifestyle remedies that could help sleep apnea, such as maintaining a healthy weight. And I know for myself, when I lost a lot of weight, I do snore. Again, I don't know if I have sleep apnea. I stopped snoring. So there's something to be said about that.
And there's also the American Sleep Apnea Association that estimates that 38,000 people in the US alone die yearly from heart disease with sleep apnea as a complicating factor.
Yeah, that's terrifying, Robert. And I don't think people realize that. People don't recognize the fact that sleep apnea is in fact life-threatening. And that's why it's so important, if you are aware that you are possibly have this affliction through the symptoms, or even if you wake up in the middle of the night thinking that you can't breathe, go get yourself checked out, because it is life or death.
So if you got constant headaches, if you have problems concentrating, if you fall asleep in people's faces, if you're watching a movie, even if it's a blockbuster and you fall asleep, you should consider going to get tested for sleep apnea. Folks, it's something to be taken extremely serious. The statistics are there. This is just in the US, 38,000 themselves checked out. And if you're here in Canada, we have excellent health care. And in the US, you have insurance for your health care. It is something to be taken seriously. Please go get yourselves checked out. And
Yes.
if you have any questions, any advice, even though the show is going to be over, you could always come back to us, and you can ask us for advice, and we're always going to be there for you.
And Jenny has a question. Have you ever accidentally whacked your partner after waking up from an episode trying to catch air?
You know what, Jenny? I actually did whack her, and I whacked her really good.
Oh, my goodness.
I hit her right on the nose. It was direct, and she was in a deep sleep. And when she got out of that sleep, she was cursing all kinds. I felt so bad, even to this day, even though I'm not with her anymore. I feel so bad. I feel like, I took a liberty on her. It was a cheap shot, but it was nothing that was done intentionally. And again,
of course,
I apologize. I apologize to this.
We are a bit frozen here. Robert, are you able to hear me? So we are frozen. I'm not sure if Robert can hear me or if, in fact, I'm frozen. So just to let you know, sleep apnea remedies, like we said earlier, is to maintain a healthy weight, try yoga, alter your sleep positions, etc. So unfortunately, Robert has tuned out, and we will try and wait for him to come back on. And we will just look at one more. So the Cpap and oral appliances do work well, but they are not a cure for sleep apnea on their own. So to rid yourself of the condition for good is to either lose weight or have surgery to try to remove excess tissue. And that is from Harvard Education. So we are waiting to see if Robert will in fact come back up. And if not, we will have to just end the show. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have been absolutely amazing. And we will see you next Wednesday, same time, same place. And thank you once again. Ciao for now.